Please give me a big, warm, excited welcome for our presenters, Mark and
What am I going to talk about today? Worry. I was having a conversation with Josh in the back, and I told him I'm going to talk a little bit about overcoming worry. And one of the first things he said to me was, we worry too much. Let me see by a show of hands, who believes that we worry too much? The University of Cincinnati said that 85% of the things we worry about never, ever happen. Now think about that. Not 50, not 60, but 85%. So I'm going to ask your help over the next 15 minutes. Every time you hear me say 85% of the things we worry about, I want you to say never, ever happen. So I'm going to share with you one of my stories of worrying. And I'm going to take you all the way back to the 70s. I was about 7, 8 years old. And one of the things that I was just petrified of were dogs. Any dog lovers in here? Oh, man. Well, let me tell you. I bet one of the reasons that all of you love dogs the way that you do, you're probably thinking of a happy, sweet, cuddly puppy or dog. Well, let me tell you. I grew up in Detroit, not here in Minnesota. Detroit is a little bit of a tough city. Our dogs didn't look like that. Our dogs look like that. So you know, when I think about it, I had reason to worry about dogs at a very young age. I was so afraid of dogs, I can remember the very first time of having an encounter. My sister Lisa were walking with my dad from Mrs. Wilkinson's house on Linwood. As we're walking, we see this lady coming with this vicious looking dog. I did what any brave 7-year-old would do. I jumped into my daddy's arms as we watched the little old lady and her pink poodle sashay on by. "85% of the things we worry about never, ever happen." I was so worried about that dog, I actually saw a vicious animal. And I could tell that he was thinking, I see my next meal. But it's something what worry will do with your mind. It always makes things worse than what they really are. But that was my very first encounter. The next one I want to tell you about. I had a friend that lived on Linwood. His name was Dee Dee, and he had this dog. This was the absolute baddest dog in the neighborhood. This dog had muscles in his legs and his neck. He was a golden brown and had this big mane around his head, just like a lion. In fact, I'm pretty for sure that this was a mix between a dog and a lion. He was a lion dog. And he even had a name that went along with it. His name was Ringo. I can remember when Ringo would break loose from his chain. And let me tell you about this chain. Ringo would be chained up with a chain that was about this thick. And it was to a basketball goal that was down on the ground and had concrete at the bottom. And if you walked by at the right time of day, you would see Ringo pulling that concrete pole around in the backyard. I'm telling you that this was a bad, strong dog. So I started to have a lot of images about Ringo. I envisioned Ringo breaking loose. And in our neighborhood, whenever Ringo would break loose, we'd all hear that sound go, woo, which told everybody, you better go inside because Ringo has broken his chain. So I don't know if any of you have ever seen the National Geographic shows where the lion and he's chasing that gazelle in the jungle. I always visioned that lion was Ringo. And that gazelle had glasses, just like me. And Ringo would swoop, trip me, and get a hold of my neck. That just goes to show you how my imagination, the worry that I had about this dog, Ringo. Well, this one summer, we're on Dee Dee's porch. There's about 3 of us, and they're doing like kids do in the summertime. We're talking and laughing about really stupid stuff. My back is to the steps on his front porch. And have you ever felt a little like heat on your shoulder when you feel like somebody's looking at you? Well, I kind of took a little glance out of my right side, and I saw a shadow coming up the steps. Guess who it was? It was Ringo. I turned around. He took 1 step forward. I took 1 step backwards. He took another step forward. I took another step backwards. By that time, my heart was beating just like this. I thought it was going to explode. And then he started to take 1 more step. I took 1, and bam! Everything blacked out. When I finally came to, my friends were under each of my arms and they were carrying me home. I jumped loose and I just started patting myself all over my body, and Dee Dee said, man, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? I said, man, Ringo attacked me. He bit me. And he said, oh man, come on. Ringo didn't bite you. He walked up to you, sniffed you, and kept on walking. I spent at least 3 summers worrying about this dog, Ringo. But you know, when I stopped to think about it, Ringo never one time chased me, barked at me, or bit me. I worried for no reason. 85% of the things we worry about never happen. Never happen. So what does dogs have to do with you? Chances are there's someone that's sitting next to you, and they have the potential to become an author. They have had this desire for a long time. I want to be a writer. The person on the other side of you, maybe a potential business owner, is in their heart. They want to do it, but they don't because they're worrying. What if I don't succeed? What if I fail? What are people going to say? Worry can stop you from achieving your dreams in life if you allow it to. So I would suggest that you remember these few things. First of all, 85% of the things we worry about never, ever happen. Second, implement a plan. It is so much easier to deal with things that you worry about. Think about your job. If when you have a plan on achieving that particular goal. Third thing, and I would say, especially for those that have faith, I always say, kneel down and pray. The next thing, just go out there and do it. You know that 85% of the things never happen? You have your plan, and you've gotten some extra help. Go out there and make it happen. And then if you do those, you'll overcome the worry that you have. So I want you to think about, what are you worrying about right now? Is there something that's keeping you up at night? Is there something that you really, in your heart, want to do, but you're worried about what might happen if you do it? What will people say? Will I fail? If you're one of those people and you're thinking and you're worrying, I want to leave you with this one thing. 85% of the things we worry about never, ever happen.